frantic activity on the handlebars. So let's see what happens there. But that's the update as Max Flinders just comes past me. He goes back out with used tyres.
Yeah, Beaubier making his way around, personal best in the first sector. But Rog, didn't look like it was the Q tyre for him.
And sometimes Beaubier's been one of those guys who's been able to go faster and hasn't found that time on the Q tire. But I think, as I mentioned before, sometimes when a rider goes out on a used tire, gets a lot of laps, they put a soft race tire on and go out and get 2 laps in before they get to the next even softer tire, because it's hard to go out there with the tires moving around a lot and then just all of a sudden trust it.
Yeah, we can see for Beaubier at the halfway point of the lap, up by 1/10 of a second on Jake Gagne. The fastest time we've had so far this weekend is 24.1 from Cam Beaubier, so he's not going to bring himself down in towards that, but finds time in that final sector, Rog, and that's going to give him that confidence boost now that with the new tyre he's been able to put himself immediately into the mid-24s, and then with the Q tyre he'll be gunning for the 23s. We can see for Sean Dillon, Kelly comes across the line, narrowly misses out on the 24s, but for Kelly that puts him up on 5th on the grid provisionally as well right now. So good effort once again from SDK, and we've seen all the way through this season how good he is whenever he puts that qualifying tyre in. Some riders, Roger, able to find that a little bit more with the Q tyre, and SDK this season only missed out in the front row once, so we know how good of a job he can do with it.
It's tough to go out there and not make a mistake and start to dig a little bit deeper and try to find that little bit of extra tenths that you need. And it's important because qualifying, a couple tenths in a class is super competitive, could mean a couple rows. And
around a track like this as well, where overtaking is going to be at a premium, means that grid position becomes even more important as Richie Escalante comes across the line and misses out by a few tenths of a second on his personal best. But we're down in towards the last 9 minutes of this session now, so this is where riders will start to come back into the pits and then make their changes out there. But Cam Beaubier is on course for the fastest lap of the weekend here, and Beaubier 0.8 of a second faster than he's gone in this session so far. Should be down into the 123s, 23.6, and that's a half a second faster than he went in yesterday's session as well, Rog. That's impressive from Beaubier.
Really good lap.
See for SDK out there as well, and with the same tyre as Beaubier on the rear, and he's about to move himself into those 23s as well potentially, and this could well be onto the front row of the grid for SDK, and still in the 24s. Lost out a lot of ground there in the final sector, but for SDK still on that provisional into the 24s there, so still on the top 2 rows of the grid.
The outright track record is a 23.639 by Ben Spies, so Cameron's close to that.
It's not too many tracks where Ben still holds the lap record, so could well fall in this session as well. But again, just shows just how impressive the speed was from Superbikes back then as well. And for Cam Beaubier, just trying to give himself the chance on this lap. We'll see what he can do, or if he's just going to up back into the pits.
He did a good job too when he went back out. He caught a lot of the riders on pit lane, so he basically had the track to himself, a lot of open track.
And with only 12 riders here in the Superbike class as well, obviously when the Stock 1000 class are out as well, they use their qualifying session for that class for the Superbike Cup grid. But for Beaubier, with most of the riders in the pits, he did have that clear track in front of him. This is Bobby Fong out, and you can see that for Bobby Fong, he's the first of the riders out there using that Q tyre, the yellow band on the rear wheel. And for Bobby, he's going to come across the line. His fastest time yesterday was 24.2, and he's about a half a second slower than that on his first flying lap of this stint. But 7 minutes left in the session. We've now got those qualifying tyres out in action, and for Bobby, a 24.4 actually was his time in that lap, so about 0.2 of a second slower than he went yesterday, Rog. But into the second lap, we'll see what sort of improvement he's able to make.
And we've seen on Beaubier's second lap, even though it was a different tire, he was able to make the big jump there.
And Beaubier back into the pits now, along with Jake Gagne. SDK's come back into the pits. This is Josh Heron's bike that we can see on screen. And for Heron, with 6.5 minutes left in the session, you'd expect that he'll be out there with that qualifying tyre as well. And Michael Hill, you're down in the pits, keeping an eye on everything.
Yeah, just down here, and just want to correct something that we've been saying over the last 15, 20 minutes or so. We're just chatting to one of the guys from Dunlop who wants us to correct what we've said. It's the qualifying tyres from Dunlop have the orange sticker. So the lap time that Cameron Beaubier just did was not on a race tyre. It was set on a qualifying tyre, the same as Sean Dillon Kelly. So Dunlop just wanting us to correct what we've been saying. It's the orange sticker tyre, which means that is the qualifying tyre. So you see here on the bike of Josh Herrin, you've got the Dunlop, which is yellow on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side of that bike, there is a sticker which is orange, which means that it's a qualifying tyre. So I think we're getting a little bit confused with the big sticker on the right. Dunlop are saying we need to correct that. So just making it clear that it was a qualifying tyre for Cam Beaubier.
As we see Josh Herrin leave the pits now, and for Herrin, 5 minutes left in the session, Rog, and we'll see if he's able to put in a second fast lap as well. Bobby Fong went out on his second lap with a 24.171. That's around about 0.05 of a second faster than what Beaubier was able to do in yesterday's session. So consolidating that second on the grid for Bobby Fong, but about half a second slower than Beaubier. And Beaubier, really strong pace, and in those mid-23s. But you mentioned, Rog, about the lap record. We're only less than a couple of hundredths of a second off of it from Beaubier, and we'll see what Cam's able to do whenever he gets back out on track. And this is the really interesting one, though, to see what Josh Herrin's able to do now. We haven't seen Herrin's real speed so far this weekend, but now that we're into the Q tyre runs, this is when you really expect to see it from Josh. And see there the replay on the left, and he's got that qualifying tyre in the rear, new tyre on the front, and he hasn't been able to put in as many miles as he'd want probably over the course of the run so far this weekend, Rog, but this is whenever it all comes down to it for Herrin.
Yeah, this is when it's time to put it all together for Josh, and we'll see what he can do. Now he's got a little more rear grip. If that's something that he's been struggling with this weekend, then this could be a big lap with this tire.
We can see that Bobby Fong's come back into the pits, so that's his qualifying run done. So we know that Bobby's not going to go any faster than that, 24.1. And that gives a good yardstick now to really be able to see what Herrin can do. Yesterday was a 25.1 from him, so it needs to find round about a second to move up onto the front couple of spots on the grid. But the front row has to be the target for Josh, but we haven't seen it during the course of this season where he's been able to qualify as well as you'd expect. Only one front row start, that was at MotoAmerica. Typically it's been that fourth on the grid spot for Josh Herrin, and the second row.
Last year he qualified fourth and won both races, so he's always one of those guys that doesn't really the qualifying. Obviously he wants to qualify well, but for Josh, I say it all the time, he's an animal when the lights go out. He knows how to step it up.
It's an interesting one around here as well. Look, turn one being so fast, it doesn't give you that chance to immediately make up a lot of positions like turn one at Coda will, for instance. But for Herrin, we'll see what he's able to do now on this lap. He's 0.2 of a second off of Cam Beaubier's time in the first sector. We've seen it though, Rog, the second lap for Bobby Fong, he found about 0.3 of a second compared to his first lap. So for Josh Herrin, right where he needed to be in the first sector, but giving up a lot of ground there in the second sector.
Yeah, that second sector again, you can see how much the gap has went up.
And Josh now just coming down in towards the right-hander at the end of the lap, down in towards the last corner now, and about to come across the line. Let's see what his lap time can be. 25.1 was his fastest time yesterday. He's 0.3 of a second faster than that with a 24.8. But for Herrin, it's that second lap now that we'll be able to really see if he's able to make that step. But interestingly for him, still round about 0.3 of a second, 0.4 of a second slower than Bobby Fong, but putting himself into contention now. Sean Dillon Kelly's just moved up onto that provisional front row of the grid as well. A 24.5 for SDK, and we've said it a few times already in this session just how good of a job he's done in qualifying through the course of this season. Looks like he's been able to do it once again in this session. 24.4 for Jake Gagne as the 32 comes across the line. And for Gagne, that's about a quarter of a second slower than his teammate Bobby Fong. And we'll see on his second lap on this tyre if he's able to make that bit of a step forward. Josh Herrin in Sector 1, not on course to improve. See here for Jake Gagne now just coming through at the turn 4 complex, and we'll see what his first sector is going to be like on this lap. For Gagne last time around 24.4, and that's about 3/4 of a second slower than Cam Beaubier's fastest time in this session. And again, not improving in that first sector as well, as Beaubier's just left the pits now as well. And we'll see what Cam's able to do in that number 6 machine, trying to shoot for an outright track record here at Mid-Ohio as well. But for Gagne, not finding that time on this lap, his second on the Q tire.
Seems like some of the riders has kind of been a little bit of a mix. Some of them's been able to find time that second lap, and a lot of them getting everything they can get out of it the first lap.
You can see for Bobby Fong teammates Jake Gagne, he's back out on track, but he's out there with a race tire. Bobby Fong second fastest in this session, and second on the grid provisionally as it stands right now. The 23.6 from Cambobier in this session, that's the fastest time we've had so far this weekend. Fong with the Q tire, Raj, pretty much just matching the pace that Beaubier had yesterday.
And you know, maybe the team came in and they seen that Beaubier did his time on a race tire and decided to throw another one of those at it and send him back out.
Yeah, sometimes the Q tire doesn't give you the benefit that you're really hoping for, especially if the track's that little bit green, that little bit slick at the start of a day. But for Bobby Fong, we'll see what he can do whenever he starts into his next lap as well. But hasn't improved in the first two sectors, but just coming through in towards the final sector now for the number 50. And we'll keep an eye on what anyone else is able to do as they move in towards the checkered flag now as well. 10 seconds left in this session, so Bobby should be able to get one more lap in at the end of this one. Checkered flag will come out in 5 seconds, and that's Benjamin Smith that's gone down. And Smith on the number 78 machine, 8th fastest in this session, had just set his personal best, and that's going to put the yellow flags out now as well, Rog. And anyone out there probably going to be caught out by those yellow flags. Josh Herron, we can see here, 5th fastest in this session. Didn't end up improving on his next lap, and 24.8, so down into the 24s, just like the other riders on the front 2 rows of the grid. But for Josh, that's not where he would have expected to be, and 5th fastest in this session, and the time from Hayden Gillum yesterday, round about half a tenth of a second slower than for Josh. So Josh, 5th on the combined times as well. As Richie Escalante now comes through, and Escalante, he would have had to deal with those yellow flags for Benjamin Smith, so we're not going to see an improvement here at the end of the session from the Suzuki rider. His teammate Sean Dillon Kelly up there on the second row of the grid. Another solid qualifying effort from STK, as we can see the riders now making their way through to take that checkered flag and end the session. And Cam Beaubier once again on course for that pole position. No one's going to be able to improve on that. He started the season with those 3 poles in a row. He had a pole at Laguna as well, Rog, and this looks like it's going to be the 5th pole position of the season for Cam Beaubier, and he's been the rider to beat all the way through this weekend. Bobby Fong comes across the line, finishes off his second fastest for Bobby Fong, and interesting there in his last lap, Rog, at 24.3, so able to get pretty close towards his times with the Q tire as well. So good effort there from Bobby Fong. 4 in a row for him coming into this weekend's running. He's going to qualify on that front row of the grid. See the riders now just getting ready for their practice starts. Jake Gagne on the number 32 machine on the front row of the grid. He'll be on the outside of the front row. Bobby Fong in the middle of the front row, and Cam Beaubier there with his 5th pole position out of 7 rounds. And he's once again been able to show for a single lap just how strong his pace is. 2025 season, Tom Doom of Fine Jewelers of Ohio will produce custom championship rings and pendants for the MotoAmerica champions in the Superbike, King of the Baggers, Super Sport and Mini Cup classes. Tom will work with each champion to choose from several designs with retail values between $12,000 and $15,000. Cam Beaubier has got a few of those championship rings already. 16 points is the difference between himself and our championship leader Josh Herron in the championship standings heading into the last 7 races of the year. But Beaubier is going to start from pole for the 5th time this season, ahead of Bobby Fong and Jake Gagne. Championship leader Josh Herron in the middle of the second row of the grid. And for Herron, we've seen him regularly qualify in that second row of the grid through the course of the season, so he should be in the mix all the way through the race. But for Herron, it's been tough starts the weekend, and he'll line up just ahead of Hayden Gillum, who had those problems at the start of this session as well. 6th on the grid for Hayden Gillum. 12 riders here in the Superbike class, but we'll also have our Superbike Cup riders taken to the grid for race 1 later on this afternoon for 19 laps of action here in Mid-Ohio. And for our riders at the front of the field, Jake Gagne on the number 32 machine. Impressive once again to qualify on the front row of the grid, Rog, and he's looked a lot more comfortable on the bike this weekend.
And he's been able to respond and do a lot of these laps on his own. And this is one of the strongest weekends we've seen at the Ridge. He was really strong, but for Jake, he looks really competitive, and he's been able to back up his lap times this weekend so far.
Yeah, exactly what we want to see from Jake Gagne to get him back at the front of the field. Pole position earlier in the season at the Ridge, but everywhere else it's been that second row of the grid. So nice seeing him back on the front row of the grid. Bobby Fong, our man with 4 in a row coming into this weekend, takes his 5th front row start of the season, and he'll line up second on the grid behind this man Cam Beaubier, and Beaubier on the number 6 machine taking that 5th pole position of the campaign, and he's been the pace setter all the way through this weekend, and he'll be down in pit lane with Michael Hill.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Just stopped Cam Beaubier on his way up towards the Parc Fermé. Cam, an impressive run of laps there, not just one, but several, and equaling the lap record. Fantastic way to take pole position.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, feeling good. Just building off a good Friday yesterday. It's no lie, we've been struggling a little bit these past couple rounds, and yeah, I feel like we found a setup that we're pretty comfortable with right now, and thanks to the Tytlers guys for that. So was pretty happy with how fast I was able to get up to on race tires, and then we threw the Q in, and I was struggling a little bit on the Q, but yeah, in a good spot right now. Just gotta keep our feet on the ground, and yeah, excited to go racing.
As you mentioned, fast on the Q, and obviously when we start looking about this race, it's 19 laps, as Steve and Roger have been saying in commentary. Very quick on the race tire as well. That's got to give you a lot of confidence. Yeah, we'll see. You know, Bobby was really fast yesterday. Those Attack boys and the Ducati boys are really good riders, so we'll see. Heron was really fast here last year, and yeah, so we'll see. It's going to be a hot, sticky one this afternoon and tomorrow too, so give it our best. Thanks, Cam. We'll let you get up to Parc Fermé. Stay with us on MotoAmerica Live Plus. Mission King of the Baggers qualifying is coming up after this short break.
I'm Jonathan with Motul Performance Lubricants. We're proud to be the official lubricant of the 2025 King of the Baggers Series with MotoAmerica. Deeply rooted in power sports, Motul has been a pioneer in oil technology, including the first multi-grade oil and the first fully synthetic motor oil in 1971.
My name is Dieter Michels. My position is technical expert within Motul Corporate Group. I'm based in Paris, France. You got to distinguish between the typical European architecture of a motorcycle engine and the American and English one. The European is one housing with the engine, clutch and transmission inside. In the European architecture, the oil has to do it all. On the American architecture, you could concentrate on each part and then create the best oil for exactly this application. And that's why we got, for the V-twins, we got 3 different oils. Engine oil, primary and transmission.
Whether you own an American Big Twin, a small European scooter, a leader bike, or anything in between, Motul has you covered. So make sure you get down to your nearest dealer or retailer, shop motul.com, determine what your best needs are, including our wide range of motorcycle care products, and be ready for your next ride with Motul.
Hi, my name is Michael Himmelsbach. I'm here with Olin's Racing. This is our service trailer behind us, and we support about 85–90% of the paddock here at MotoAmerica, including all of the professional racers down to everybody in the hooligans class, the baggers, and every class that's out here. I want to introduce to you the King of the Baggers shock that we've developed. This is the new HD 779 with fully adjustable ride height, spring preload, compression, and rebound. This was developed through our inception with the King of the Baggers and our support through Harley-Davidson and Indian Motor Company. So this is a brand new product that was developed on the racetrack, and we're here to support all of the teams and the riders.
Hi guys, I'm Josh Hayes. Michael just handed this over to me to introduce to you about the TTX Racing shock, which this one here in particular is for the R9 that I'm racing. And this thing has all the same adjustability that he talked about that's on all of the Olin's machines and all of their shocks. Why do I choose Olin's, you might ask? Well, for one, I love gold, but quality, top notch, and then of course, the information that's available. Olin's has such a deep well. They They support so many racing series all over the world. There's no better place if you need information that can cover everything from the heaviest guy to the lightest guy, fastest guy to the slowest guy. They've got information. They can get you going in the right way so that you can start making progress and enjoy riding your motorcycles. All right, guys, if you're ready to go get your Öhlins equipment, all you got to do is come see the support truck here at the MotoAmerica races or go to Öhlins.com.
Hi, my name's Josh Marsh, Trade Marketing Manager at Aprilia Americas. We're here at Daytona International Speedway for the opening round of the SC Projects Twins Cup Championship. The Aprilia RS660 was first introduced in 2020, and not only did it see tremendous success in showrooms across the world, it claimed the Twins Cup Championship in its first attempt in MotoAmerica. We retook the championship in 2024 with Alessandro Di Mario, and we're here again to reclaim that title and stick with the #1 plate. Right out of the box, the Aprilia RS660 is the class leader and has been since it came out in 2020. Easy to develop into a competitive track day bike, race bike, and a championship bike like we see here in the Twins Cup. Aprilia makes motorcycles for any kind of riding, whether you want to go adventure riding, commuting, street riding, or take on your local track. And thanks to the continued support of our sponsors and the ongoing partnership with MotoAmerica, we're able to continue to develop this bike to be even more competitive moving forward.
Welcome back to the action here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, where we've now got 15 minutes of Mission King of the Baggers qualifying 2. And in yesterday's running, we saw a Harley-Davidson 1-2-3 with Hayden Gillum leading the way. A 28-0 for Hayden. And this is a track garage where it just seems to suit his style on any bike, but particularly the Bagger looks very, very good around here.
Very strong yesterday, over a half a second quicker than Rocco there. We did have a red flag toward the end of the session that could have maybe messed up a couple riders' rhythm, but for Hayden, fastest yesterday morning, fastest yesterday afternoon.
And obviously for Hayden Gillum, an important weekend, but for our championship leader, Kyle Wyman, a very important weekend. And Wyman holds a 76-point advantage over Loris Baz when action gets underway for the opening race the weekend this afternoon. Troy Herfoss 82 points back. And Rog, when you look at the championship standings right now, obviously it all points to Kyle Wyman, but for the other riders, still a lot to play for in terms of being able to fight it out for second in the standings. Even if you go back as far as Rocco Landers, he'll still think that there's a chance to make up some points.
And not only that, be inside the top 3. That's a big deal for those guys. Obviously winning the title's #1, but being in the top 3 for the year is great.
Yesterday we saw that this was a Harley-Davidson track, 1-2-3 in qualifying 1. That's where it becomes important for the Indian riders to see if they're able to make a bit of a step forward in this session as well. Herfoss was the leading Indian rider, but you can see for Tyler O'Hara, Loris Baz and Cam Peterson further down the order than they would have wanted.
And seeing Kyle Wyman there in 6, it was just a kind of a weird day. So I don't know what exactly they were struggling with yesterday, but not where he wants to be.
You mentioned that yesterday was a strange day for the King of the Baggers class, and we saw some big crashes during the course of the action.
It's Tyler O'Hara down into turn 1. He made the hand signal like the throttle stuck, and it sounded like that. And unfortunately goes down, gets another opportunity this morning, but that was a big crash.
We saw another big crash during the course of the running as well. Bradley Smith on the number 38 machine, and Bradley ruled out of action for the rest of the action this weekend. And you could see there, Rog, just how difficult it is for the riders out here, and obviously the size of the Baggers bikes always means that anytime there's a crash like that, Brad was lucky to be able to walk away from that. But Michael Hill, what can you tell us in the pits?
Yeah, well, we're just watching the replay there of Bradley Smith, and down here in the pits with some breaking news. Bradley Smith will take no further part in this weekend, and he will be replaced this weekend now by Travis Wyman. Now, of course, Travis Wyman was already replacing a rider. He was replacing Jake Lewis, but he is now not replacing Jake Lewis. He is replacing Bradley Smith. What I do want to point out there, though, is that Bradley Smith, despite that crash, he is okay. Obviously, he did walk away yesterday a little bit battered and bruised, so Bradley will take no further part, and Travis Wyman will now not replace Jake Lewis. He will now replace Bradley Smith. Hope that all makes sense to you.
And obviously for Travis, that's a chance to move from the Saddleman team into the factory squad as well, Rog.
Yeah, and for him, that's what with the Harley, seeing how fast it is. The factory one's a great opportunity, but it's also going to have its challenges as well. You miss all day Friday on the bike that you're going to go racing, and you're only going to get 15 minutes of seat time on it.
Yeah, get straight into it, and then you've also got the 3-lap challenge cup race coming up soon as well. So we'll see what Wyman's able to do on that number 10 machine. But we're catching up now with yesterday's pace setter, Hayden Gillam. And this is where it's always interesting for me, Rog, because Hayden's been out there on his Superbike, and now he has to jump out onto the bagger. And to adapt from one to the other is obviously a big challenge for a rider. Especially
between a Superbike and a bagger. You have to think of, just the power of the Superbike and the electronic aids that they're able to use that they don't have on the bagger. It's got to be a little bit tough, but Hayden's been able to do it. And I think because he has practice at it now, you start learning things to be able to make that transition quicker. Yeah, I've always found it interesting for road racing back in Europe at the Isle of Man or something like that, when riders are able to jump from such different bikes to one another. But I don't think I've ever seen it where you've had to make such a big transition as from a Honda Superbike onto a bagger's bike. But certainly for Gillam, he's been able to do it well over the course of this weekend in particular. Our pace setter from yesterday's session, a 28.0, and fast lap times around here in the baggers class this weekend. Yeah, and his teammate was really fast yesterday, Rocco Landers, and it was a heartbreak for Hayden Gillam last race, leading that race all the way up to the corkscrew and had that mechanical, so he's looking to bounce back and finish the job this weekend, and he's looking strong. We can see James Rispoli here on the 43 machine, and another rider double dutying, and we see it a lot in the baggers class where riders will race in the hooligans class as well. But for Rispoli, it's going to be important for him to be able to take advantage of the fact that this does look like it's going to be a weekend where the Hardy's going to be strong. But just seeing there for Troy Herfoss, he's just moved up to the top of the times and only 0.2 of a second slower than Hayden Gillam's time from yesterday. So a big jump forward being made there by the Indian rider. Big jump, almost a full second quicker already than he went all day yesterday. So great lap for Troy. And obviously for Herfoss, still in championship contention, but the chances of holding on to that number 1 plate, he knows how difficult it's going to be. That's where it becomes really important, just to win races now and try and finish the season as strongly as he can. For Herfoss, obviously only 1 race win this season and a couple more podiums, not what he would have expected in his championship defence. See now for the number 10 and Travis Wyman just coming through there on look like Hayden Gillam as we now catch up with our championship leader Kyle Wyman, the most successful rider in the baggers class. And Wyman, he's been in great form this season. Great form. Yesterday was a little bit of a weird day to see him so far down in the time sheets, and this morning we're going to see if they were able to figure out whatever was holding them back yesterday. Yeah, and obviously for Wyman, we've seen the 6 wins this season, podiums in the other 2 races as well. He's had that consistency and the confidence that comes from that. We also had the announcement this weekend of MotoGP confirming that they'll have their own baggers class going forward, and wouldn't be too surprised to see if Kyle decides that that's another chance for him to race these bikes as well. But for Wyman, comes across the line there, 28.8 for the number 33, and for Wyman just finding his form as well. And it's a big challenge for the riders, Rog, when the qualifying sessions are so short in the baggers class. You really need to be able to maximise your track time out there. Yeah, and for Kyle, that's quite a bit quicker than he went yesterday as well. So good lap for Kyle. He's working his way toward the right direction. Yeah, and for Wyman, about 0.6 of a second faster than he went yesterday straight away now in this session. 0.4 of a second down on Hayden Gillam for this session, and around about 0.8 of a second to find for the pole time. But for the 33, obviously the most important thing at this stage, Rog, make sure you're able to qualify in the front row of the grid, stay out of trouble during the races, and then you've got a good opportunity to just consolidate that championship advantage. We can see here Corey West on the number 13 machine, and West 10th fastest in this session. Obviously only 11 riders taking part this weekend in the Mission King of the Baggers class after Bradley Smith was ruled out of action. And we'll have a little look down into the pits now as well. But for the riders during a session like this, Rog, we see that the vast majority of them come back into the pits. They're going to split up their session into 3 or 4 lap runs. Yeah, and it goes quick. If only 15 minutes, especially if you have a problem or you did a big setup change overnight and it wasn't as good, even worse than what you had yesterday. That 15 minutes is, you're not going to get a lot of laps. Yeah, and obviously for the Indian team as well, we saw that yesterday they were struggling out there. Yep. And Herfoss has made a big step forward, 28.2, provisionally second on the grid. And
he's top of the times in this session as well. Cam Peterson on the number 45 machine as well, and Peterson's found a lot of time compared to the problems that he had yesterday as well, so we're starting to see something representative from Cam P. Yesterday he was down in the 131s, so we didn't really see anything from him that we'd expect on the 45, but he's riding well this weekend in the Super Sport class, and now up there 4th fastest here in the baggers class as well. See for James Rispoli, just leaving the pits now on the number 43 machine. Rispoli 5th fastest from his first stint, and 29.7, so we'll see if he's able to make some improvements now into the last 6 minutes of this session.
See Al Lonington, there's Tyler O'Hare's crew chief, same guy that was a crew chief for Miguel de Hamo, and he was winning all his titles and races here in America. Great guy to have in your corner, a lot of knowledge.
The teams that we see in the baggers class, a lot of them very high level, and you see as well with the tech and the bikes just how much of an investment there is in these bikes, and certainly when you look at it over the course of the last few years, the step forward in terms of their performance is so impressive. But you look at the fact that they're doing 28s around here and we saw in the Superbike class it was a 23 for pole, so they really are going some around here for the likes of Herfels and Gillum and Wyman down in the 28s right now. This is Cam Peterson on the number 45 machine, and for Peterson, last time around he was still in the 129s, Rog, but wants to get down into the 28s. 29.1 is his fastest lap from this session so far, and he'll want to be into that 28 club.
And we have to mention too, the top 6 makes it to that mission challenge after this. 6 combined qualifying makes it to that 3-lap shootout right after this qualifier for $5 grand, no points.
Yeah, no points on offer, just prize money, and it's good incentive for the riders whenever you end up with 2 rows of grid giving themselves that chance for a 3-lap race and a proper old school dash for the cash, and it's going to be a good opportunity for those riders as we see down into the Saddleman crew as well.
See Jake Lewis there setting out the bagger this weekend, focusing on the hooligan title.
And obviously the last round of the season for the hooligans class, and sitting out the super sport class as well. So very clear where Jake's priority is, and there's a chance to win a championship. So that looks like it's Rispoli that's gone down.
That is a fast crash going into that chicane there. Right out of turn 1 into turn 2. Red flag is out. Definitely the bike is in the middle of the track.
You can see for Rispoli at least he was able to slide away from the bike, different to what we saw in yesterday's crash for Bradley Smith. But for Rispoli, there's a lot of work to be done there for the team, and he's one of those riders, Rog, in the top 6 positions, but with that amount of work to be done, it's unlikely we'll see him taking part in the challenge race. But Rispoli 5th fastest in this session, and he was just starting his first flying lap of that second stint as well. But red flag's out, and the corner workers will get this bike cleared away. But let's have a look and see what happened to 43.
Right here, turn 2, the front end, I'm sure, just look at that, just goes down. There's nothing he can do. He's on a qualifying lap trying to get everything he can out of it, and just a little bit of a mistake and down he goes.
It's a small mistake, and when you look at the extent of the damage done to the bike, you can see obviously for a bike of this size it's very easy for, once the momentum's going against it, just for those bikes just to cartwheel a little bit like we saw there for Rispoli, and then you can see just how much energy transfer there is for how far that bike has been rolling along the grass and then down in towards the track there at turn 3. But for Rispoli, that's one of those crashes, Rog, where you've got to try and push on, and you're always on that tightrope of the limit, and unfortunately for James, just ends up getting caught out for that front end crash.
And he's had such a good weekend so far as well. He's been fast on the bagger. He was 3rd yesterday morning. Yesterday afternoon was 3rd as well. So he's had a really solid weekend going. Hopefully this crash doesn't put him back too much.
Saw a couple of podiums from him earlier in the season in MotoAmerica as well. And you can see here, this isn't James Rispoli's crew that we're getting an eye on. The Indian team will be disappointed because they know that obviously the red flag comes out and it hurts their riders. We're down in towards the pits once again, and you can see here for James Rispoli on the right of the shot there, and the damage done to his bike. But Rog, when you look at a crash like this in real time, you can see just how quickly it goes from underneath him. And for Rispoli's bike there, Rog, it's only whenever something goes wrong that you see just how fast and how much corner speed these riders carry into that section of the track.
The speed there will just show you how far the bike slid. In the wet, the bike slides really far because the grass is wet. But you see right there, no rain, just how fast he was going.
Yeah, and the corner workers there just using the air blowers to try and clear up the track, and hopefully we'll be able to get back underway soon. Michael Hill's down in the pits, and Mike, who have you managed to catch down there?
Yes, I'm down here in the middle of the action. Just turn around here, Steve, and have a look at this. Do that again. That was great. Troy Herfoss just trying to cool down. Let's see if we can get a quick word with Troy. Troy, can we grab a quick word? I mean, I've heard about keeping cool. That was impressive. I like that. Like sort of flying in the sky or something. That was impressive.
So many things to say if this wasn't PG rated.
I know, right? We could do like a Mike on the mic X-rated show or something. We should do that. But how you doing? How you doing, mate? You good?
Yeah, we're doing good. Yeah, feel really at home on the bike. Yeah, Laguna was real tough. Sort of like a low point with the realization of where I was at and the bike was at and where we directed the bike to, essentially. Man, the guys have done a lot of work at home and just auditing everything with the bike and making sure everything's the same as how I say I want it. And we come here with no excuses, and it was a slow start yesterday, but man, it felt good to be fast in that first opening lap. And yeah, when you get to 38 years old, the doubts start creeping in, and it was good to have a bit of a realization that, maybe I'm not too old and slow yet.
Not at all, not at all. We're talking a little bit, I was saying just how hot it was down here just as a presenter. We can see the sweat just pouring off you. It's physical out there, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, these bikes, it's like we don't do a lot of laps, but it's twice as heavy. There's a lot of load going through the body, and these guys are doing such a good job with the bikes now. Both manufacturers have got a bagger that really steers and turns and brakes and accelerates. So the more performance they gain, the fitter we got to be. And yeah, it's all part of the game. And this track's such a physical track. It's actually a lot of fun. Probably one of the most fun tracks in the calendar, really.
Okay, well, we'll let you get back to the team. You're going to be back out pretty soon. Good luck for the rest of the weekend. Yeah, nice to see you, buddy. Right, we're going to spin around because one rider that we would have seen on track, we're not seeing him on track. We're only going to see him riding this weekend in the Hooligans. He's got a chance to win the Hooligans. He sat down here. We're going to come and have a quick word if we can with Jake Lewis. Jake, not had a chance to catch up with you yet. We normally see you potentially on 3 bikes. We're only going to see you on 1. How are you feeling and how's things going on the Hooligan?
I'm ready to battle this boy.
Yeah, what you can't see off camera is if we just turn around there, Steve, we got the both of them down here. Corey West, of course. This is the battle for the championship right here.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, there's like 7 or 8 of us within a second. And this class last year, race 2 here was a heck of a battle. And it's good to see other guys get close to us on the Harleys. And physically, I feel okay, actually. It's kind of a bummer, obviously I want to be doing all 3 classes, but last weekend at Virginia, at the end of the Super Sport race, it was honestly like someone shot me in the side. It hurt so bad, and it was the most pain I've probably ever rode for, so I just wanted to play it smart this weekend and just focus on the 1 class in the Hooligan. Still have a shot at the championship. I have to go win, and that's kind of my only mindset. And I know Corey and James and everyone, and it's going to be a big fight, and looking forward to it. It's unfortunate we're the first session of the day and then have to sit around all day in the last race of the day, so it's a long day just sitting here watching some racing, but I hope everyone puts on a good show.
Yeah, I just want to come across then, Corey. We've just been told it's about 4 minutes until you come out on track. Corey, if we can get a quick word with you. You sat down here now, obviously joking with Jake. You guys are good buddies off track. Are you still going to be smiling later on this afternoon? That's the question.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I always try to have a smile on my face, but this weekend there's a bit more pressure.
Obviously, double dutying, is that giving you a bit of an advantage? It's quite physical. We just spoke to Troy Herfoss, and he said it's a physical track, and it's getting hot out there. It's humid as well.
Yeah, for sure. The older I get, the less laps I want to do. Lower back's a little tight this morning, but felt like the bagger loosened me up a little bit more. But big shout out to the Infield Care Clinic. Those guys always take care of us over the weekends, and it's nice to go in there and get an adjustment when you need it. But yeah, man, just pushing hard, trying to get the most out of these Saddlemen bikes, and definitely focusing on that Hooligan just a little bit more than the bagger.
Excellent. We'll let you start to get ready. We're going to walk down here, Steve, if we can. I want to try and get a quick word, if we can, with Loris Baz, who is currently second in the championship. We can see Tyler O'Hara down here. In fact, all three Indian riders here. The team's now just being told that there are just three minutes remaining. Let me just come around the other side of you there, Steve, just so I can get in and quickly get a word with Loris. Loris, second in the championship, and obviously that red flag just gives you a little bit of time to make any changes. How are you feeling for this restart?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty unlucky with the red flags this year, but yeah, it's okay. We had some change to do on the bike, not feeling really happy with the setup this weekend, and I'm struggling to ride like I want, so hopefully we can make some change and get into that second row to be in the challenge race and then make some change for this afternoon.
Okay, we'll let you get focused again, and then Steve, if we can, I think we've got a couple of minutes. I want to just try and see if we can get down here to try and show you the bikes of Rocco Landers and Hayden Gillam. And again, we're trying to speak to as many people as we can in the red flag because they go straight into the challenge after this. And then, of course, during the lunch break, a number of these riders, including Hayden Gillam, are going to be getting ready to go racing. Quite a few riders doing more than one race here this weekend. There you can just see, actually, Hayden Gillam, unlike a lot of the other riders, sat down here very, very relaxed. Look, helmet not even on, looking very, very calm is Hayden Gillam, just talking to the team down here. His teammate Rocco Landers there, just with his back to us, with the helmet already on. So you can see down here the Revzilla riders, the Saddlemen team, but two very, very different styles in terms of how they are preparing for getting back out there. We talk about how hot it is, and look at this, how they're just trying to keep the bike cool. Here, the fans blowing at the front here, and of course, the hotter the engines get, that saps the power out of them. So it's all about trying to keep the engines as cool as possible. We're being told just to move out of the way here, so let's get back upstairs to Steve and Roger. That's a little bit of a walk and talk. Very different ways of approaching the restart, Steve.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. And obviously for the riders now, with 5 minutes left in the session, Rog, this is where you've got to try and time when you want to get out there, because you'll have time for a couple of fast laps at the end of it. And for the riders, you want to make sure you don't get that traffic in front of you. There might only be 11 riders out in the baggers class now for this qualifying session, but you want to make sure you've got that clear track.
And if you're a little bit off pace, you're going to try to get out there, maybe get behind somebody and get a little bit of a tow.
And we heard from Troy Herfoss down there as well. Herfoss, our fastest rider so far in this session, at 28.2. It still compares to Hayden Gillam's time with the 28.0 from yesterday. So Gillam's still our provisional pole setter on the number 69 machine. Herfoss onto that front row of the grid. And we've been able to see that Kyle Wyman's made a good step forward, but James Rispoli still provisionally on the front row of the grid from his time from yesterday. But we're not going to see Rispoli back out in this session, Rog, after this crash. The best he can hope for is to retain that front row spot in third.
You see how fast that corner is, how fast the front end tucked. No chance to save it at that point.
Yeah, and for Rispoli, the bike hits the grass and then just rolls all the way through the grass and then back onto the racetrack. That's why we had our red flag delay.
He had a big one here last year too, out of the last corner.
And for Rispoli, obviously the focus now turns to getting that bike ready for race 1 this afternoon. But for James, still on course to be on that front row of the grid right now. We'll see if anyone's able to make that step forward to challenge on the front row. Kyle Wyman currently 4th on the grid and about a 1/10 of a second slower than Rispoli's fastest time from the 2 qualifying sessions so far. Pit lane is open and the riders are making their way out around the track, and looked like Rocco Landers was one of the first to leave the pits, and Max Flinders out there straight away as well, and Corey West is out on track in the 13. But Rog, we're not seeing everyone immediately jump out of the pits.
Some people might feel pretty good where they're at, or might want to wait a minute and just try to get 2 good laps.
It's interesting to hear from Herfoss there. Obviously, it's been a tough season for himself and the Indian team, 3rd in the championship standings, and behind his teammate Loris Baz in those championship standings, but not been the year that we would have expected from Herfoss. 1 win, 1 second place, and 1 third position. There's only podium so far this season. That's where it becomes really important this weekend, just to give yourself that little bit of momentum for the final stretch of the campaign. See the green flag there at the end of pit lane, and riders making their way out. It was after a red flag for James Rispoli. And Rog, this is crash from last year as well.
Last corner, see the rear end just steps out, another kind of weird crash, but a fast one for James, and you see the bike again. So James was up okay. You can see it was one of those crashes where he didn't know what happened. It wasn't like he was pushing hard, just slid out, and unfortunately he went down. He was able to walk away.
Walk away and then have a little sit down as well to watch the end of the race. But for Rispoli on that number 43 machine, obviously we're not going to see him back in action here in these final 3 minutes of the session, but now we are seeing riders start to put in their final fast laps of the session. This is Rocco Landers on the number 97 machine, and Rocco 7th fastest in this session, and when you look at him from yesterday as well, 2nd fastest with a 28.6, so still provisionally up there on those front rows of the grid as well for Landers. Really impressive performance yesterday, but he wants to try and go a little bit faster now in this lap than he was able to do yesterday, but 2nd fastest 28.6.
Yeah, it's been impressive for that whole Revzilla Vance Hines Harley team, the way they have both of their riders yesterday, 1st and 2nd, sweeping the first 2 spots. That's a huge improvement. They've been working hard this year, and all that work's starting to pay off.
Yeah, and we can see from the timing tower on the left-hand side of the screen, everyone's left the pits now and out there trying to set their fast times to finish off the session. 2 minutes left in this one, so still got enough time for another lap at the end of this one for most of the riders, but Rocco Landers, he's going to have time for 2 laps to finish off the session, Roger, and this is the benefit of being the first rider to leave the pits.
And he just did his personal best lap. See a couple riders out there trying to position themselves where they want to be. They either might want to get a little bit of a gap and get some clear track, or they might be trying to jump in behind somebody.
Rocco's time from yesterday is still good enough for the front row of the grid, so we'll see if on his final couple of laps he makes another step forward in terms of what he's doing in this session. Cam Peterson there on the number 45 machine moves up to 4th fastest in this session, 28.7 from Cam Peterson, as Hayden Gillum now moves up to the top of the times in this session, and Gillum by 0.03 of a second from Troy Herfoss, just consolidating what he did yesterday, and still time for another lap from the 69, and for Gillum still 0.2 of a second slower than he went yesterday, Rog, but just backing up what he did in qualifying 1.
All the riders out there doing their best laps right now.
Yeah, the only rider in the front 7 positions that hasn't improved his time is Troy Herfoss in that first stint, but Herfoss with a red first sector now, so faster than what we've seen from Hayden Gillum, and the fastest time and the time to beat is 28.0, so we'll see if Herfoss on this flying lap is able to give himself that chance to take away the pole position from Hayden Gillum. Gillum with a personal best in sector 1, and for Gillum he's about 0.5 of a second slower than Herfoss in sector 1, but we'll see what Herfoss can do whenever he comes through the middle sector of his lap, and Herfoss just about to come through that as we keep an eye here on the 69 of Hayden Gillum. But for the number 1, he's got traffic in front of him. He's got Kyle Wyman on the 33, and the lap just going away a little bit from Herfoss now at this stage, but he's going to be touch and go, Rog, to get in one more lap at the end of this session. Probably won't get across the line in time now, and that's going to be it for Troy Herfoss.
Now it's going to be close.
And checkered flag just about to come out. We can see there for Kyle Wyman, looked like he was able to get across the line just before the checkered flag, but Troy Herfoss was not able to do that, so Herfoss the best he can qualify his 2nd spot. Hayden Gillum's finished off his session as well, and Gillum with a 28.0 right on his last lap. Not quite as quick as he went yesterday, but the only rider in the low 28s in the baggers class has been Hayden Gillum so far this weekend, and we'll see if anyone else is able to find some improvements on their final lap, as Kyle Wyman we saw come across the line, Rog, 3rd fastest in this session for the championship leader, and he's got one more lap to try and improve his time, because he's still going to be behind the likes of Rocco Landers on the grid and James Rispoli as well. So for Kyle Wyman, looks like he's 5th on the grid on those combined times right now.
Yeah, it looks like he's just behind Tyler O'Hara, though, so I'm not sure if Kyle's trying to find a way past, or...
For Tyler, we saw a new personal best in the first sector, and for Wyman, we saw a personal best in that first sector as well, but O'Hara out of shape there across the crest of the hill, and we'll see what they're able to do in this middle sector now, if they're able to maintain that momentum. But for the number 33, not on course for a personal best then in that middle sector, but this is the last. These will be the last riders to finish off this session as well. We're seeing everyone else come across the line now, and Travis Wyman improved his time on his final lap, but still down there in 9th in this session, 10th in this session. And for O'Hara comes across the line, and new personal best for him across the line. Kyle Wyman wasn't able to improve his time by 1/10 of a second on that final lap, so it looks like our championship leader is going to line up on the 2nd row of the grid, with Hayden Gillum taking that pole position here in the Mission King of the Baggers class. And Rog, for the number 33, obviously on the second row of the grid, Wyman, he's got that healthy championship advantage over Loris Baz of 76 points, but he's going to start from the second row of the grid, and it's